Everyone, and welcome. My name is Brad Cole. I'm the clinical associate here at Backline. I also am a case manager with Backline. I'm an LPCC practicing therapist in the state of Colorado. And so really today is just kind of an opportunity for us to kind of slow down together. I know during the holiday season, it can be a challenge for folks to slow down or care for themselves or know what to do to take care of self. So really, this is just an opportunity for us to kind of gather and first of all, slow down, take an hour out of our day to slow down together. But two, to kind of put together some plans that we can have for the holiday season for the next couple of weeks, just to make sure that we're maintaining mental health and wellness as we enter the new year. So kind of an outline of what I'll be kind of going over today. We'll start with just some like quick holiday self-care tips. I'll then kind of give some ideas on how we can rest in an industry, and especially on the touring side of things in the industry where there's not much time for slowing down or rest, and it's very go, go, go. It could be a challenge to find moments to give yourself a respite or take some time to rest. So going to give some just ideas on alternative ways of resting, mind, body, spirit, everything. And then lastly, I'm going to share with y'all a holiday care plan that you can utilize throughout the next couple of weeks that can really just make sure that you're taking care of yourself, number one, and number two, making sure that you're preparing yourself for a kick-ass 2024. So I'll just gonna go ahead and get started and just really offering some ideas. If we have time at the end, we can see if there's any questions. But really first, just kind of want to start with some just like holiday self-care tips. This as we move into this time of year, my belief is that it's a time to slow down, self-reflect, take time to be with self and loved ones. Not always the case when you work in an industry that's go, go, go. So really, this is an idea of these are some tips you can use, between fall tour and the New Year's shows or the couple days you have before the New Year's shows, just making sure that you give yourself some time to care for self. The first idea really is just kind of to make some space for messy feelings. This time of year brings a lot of grief, a lot of angst, irritation, anger, sadness, loneliness. Make space for those, whatever that's going to look like for you. Grief in particular, meaning give yourself some time to tend to it, care for yourself, and let the emotions be. If that's 20 minutes in the room before you go out into a space of others, if it's giving yourself a whole day to kind of snuggle in bed or snuggle with your dog, really giving yourself space to feel when necessary. We don't want to be pushing it down as it's already a stressful time of year. Next one would be just to learn to say no. This can be a challenge, but as we start to enter into the holidays, we tend to be around family members a bit more, which is going to come with it boundary crossing, asking questions we don't want to answer, inquiry, bringing up information or bringing up topics that are just kind of out of bounds for us. So in this kind of idea, make sure that you're establishing like what are the areas of communication that we are non-negotiables for us, ones that we are not going to talk about. What is the amount of time we're able to spend with family? Understanding what our boundaries are with these family members so that we feel more comfortable in saying no, and not feeling guilty as, we're just as important as those folks. And we have to maintain our mental health and wellness as, most folks in the touring side of things are going to be hitting the ground running starting right in January. So it's really important that you respect your boundaries and know when to say no to family members and loved ones. Another thing you can do is just work towards keeping your stress levels in check. What that means is making sure that you have your regulation skills. I'll go through a couple of those here in just a moment, so that we don't reach that like mental limit of like really having to get out of there. One way of being able to kind of keep the stress at bay is to have a healthy exit plan. We get wrapped up in the holidays and traditions that are going on, and sometimes we get overwhelmed and people aren't respecting our boundaries. It can be really helpful and just like a stress reliever to know if we have an exit plan, be it I got to go home and take care of the dog, or have another party I have to go to, or whatever it may be, giving yourself an exit plan if necessary. Additionally, kind of some ideas on how to kind of regulate the body. Number one, making sure you get space when you need. Deep breathing, utilize your breath. If you start to notice like activation around family members, make sure you're finding your breath, the rhythm of your breath. And yeah, taking breaks when you need, going on a walk, being with safe family members or friends, those types of things that can kind of help maintain the stress levels so we're not getting to a point of overwhelm. Another one can kind of add some joy and excitement to this time of year is creating your own holiday traditions. I know we can get stuck in the old patterns, old ways of being, old traditions. Creating your own traditions can also make this time of year special for you, and can be more realistic with your level of energy, your ability to go out, your ability to engage in older traditions. Creating your own holiday traditions can kind of help you reclaim this time of year for self. Getting organized, so making sure you have a plan, like I said, an exit plan, but also a plan for like when you're going to be going, what you should bring, if you can bring anything, and just making sure that you're sticking to the plan. Not going beyond your limits, your energy limits, especially with family members. And that also includes just setting some realistic expectations. So as we're creating our holiday plans, be realistic with self. If we're feeling overwhelmed and and exhausted and depleted, and we need to plan some rest, or we need to kind of lower the amount of plans that we're doing, do so. This is a rough time of year that a lot is expected of us from others, the world, society, the people coming to the New Year's show, parents, family, friends. There's just so much that's needed. So knowing that and knowing where your energy's at, just setting realistic expectations for this time of year for self can be helpful. And my next one is just giving yourself permission to let it be an average day. The holidays come around and everything has to be exciting and to the max and doing the most. And that's really just not how humans work. So giving yourself permission that a day may just be laying in bed or resting, however it looks for you. It doesn't have to be incredibly jolly and exciting if it's not for you. Anyways, those are just some kind of quick ideas on how to kind of take care of yourself throughout the holidays. And now I just kind of wanted to take some time to go through some ideas on how we can increase our levels of rest. There's not much rest when you're on the road, especially when you're out on tour and you hardly even have space to yourself. So in these moments where we have a break from work, if there is a break from work, it's so important that we find times to rest. You've worked your ass off to get here in your career. And so to avoid that burnout, it's so important that we utilize types of rest, especially at this time of year. I think we get caught in the trap too of like, this time of year, there's lots of lights and events to go to and concerts, and they want you to buy and consume and consume and consume. Well, that gets exhausting when we're putting all of our energy into that, continuing to engage in all of these events and not really taking time to slow down and rest for ourselves. So I wanted to just go through some ideas of rest. A lot of folks, I would say, kind of think of rest really mostly as just laying around, sitting on the couch, doing nothing, sleeping, binge watching, whatever it may be, which those are great. Those can be great ways of passively resting and really not, utilizing that slowness and stillness. But rest can be many other things. Rest is really my way of looking at it is giving whatever part of the holistic being needs a break. So there's physical rest, cognitive rest, social rest, spiritual rest, creative rest. And I'm gonna go through a few of these with y'all just to kind of give you some ideas for ways to increase your rest when you can. First would be that passive physical rest, or I'll start with physical rest. So first would be that passive physical rest, which was kind of what we typically think in our society as rest, of sleeping, taking naps, taking breaks, those types of things. Another aspect of physical rest, though, is active physical rest. These include stretching, getting a massage, doing yoga, deep breathing, cooking and eating a healthy meal, really doing something that's in service of the body, that's not exerting it too much. I know yoga can get a little intense, so find something for yourself that allows you to move the body, but not in a strenuous way, and allows you to kind of breathe life back into it. Next would be cognitive rest. As industry professionals, your minds are moving constantly from this thing to that thing to this thing to that thing, always moving, always having to be on, in focus, knowing what's next. That's exhausting. The mind, the cognitive mind, the thoughts, the logic, the movement of the brain is real, or excuse me, the movement of the mind also needs rest as well. So ideas for this, just to kind of give you a moment of respite for the mind not moving so much. Cognitive rest can look like writing a to-do list, referencing checklists to give your mind, or excuse me, creating a checklist and referencing it to give your memory a break. Creating rituals to separate work and life to make sure that we have those moments of separation. Taking a break from problem solving if you can, just taking a break from work, a day or two off if you have the space, not looking or trying to think about any work tasks. Again, I know challenging, but trying to give yourself that space of freedom of the mind from work. Word games, puzzles, strategy games, those types of things can keep the mind moving without it having to maintain too much executive functioning focus, and can really just give yourself a little bit of a break from thinking so much. And lastly, my favorite would be meditation. Meditation, not always a practice that everybody is able to tap right into, but it is a practice. And is one of mindfulness that allows your brain to have a complete break from sensory input, from thinking, and really just gives you full cognitive rest. So, though it can be challenging to tap in, especially when we're in a house of stress or in a stressful situation, giving ourselves a moment to 15, 30, 45, an hour, whatever it may be, to meditate can really, really help with mental wellness. There's tons of meditations on YouTube you can find. There are apps for your phone that do meditation. There's all sorts of options out there to do quick meditations. Next would be, and one that I think is really important for touring professionals, excuse me, is social rest. So I think that obviously there's a lot of social energy that goes into being a touring professional. You are around a ton of people for work. I mean, setting up, you're around a team, people are showing up at the show, all of a sudden there's nothing, then all of a sudden there's so much. Really just a shift in how much social interacting has to be going on. So can really deplete the social battery. And as we prepare to go into the holidays, where sometimes we're expected to be a bit more social or go to more parties or whatever it may be, it's so important we give our social body a rest. The best way to do that, I would say, is just to evaluate relationships and understanding necessary boundaries. What that means is, spending more time with folks who are safe, spending time with family members or friends who give you energy. spending less time with people who you feel suck energy out of you, or setting limits or boundaries with those folks who tend to just take and suck the energy that may not be existent there anyways. And then, if you're an introvert or you're somebody who does not get that re-energizing experience from social experiences, block time for alone time. If you are introverted and need that real social break to recharge that battery, schedule some alone time for yourself, whatever that's going to look like. Vice versa. I mean, an extrovert, make sure scheduling time with folks that you know are going to refill your cup. Next would be spiritual rest, which is just really giving yourself some space to be a part of something bigger than self. This can really help get us out of our heads, get us out of our kind of monotony of the day to day, and can kind of bring us back to that higher knowing of self. Some good ways of doing that would be, if you have the space and time, volunteering, participating in spiritual-based activities or religious-based activities, if that's something that is special or dear to your heart during the holidays. Really just giving yourself a space to feel realigned and back into a space of safety. Next would be sensory rest, which I think is another one that's going to be really important for industry professionals, especially those out on the road, as your senses are often overloaded. Not only just the show with the lights and the lasers and the loud noises, but afterwards, there's a lot of commotion. There could be a lot of commotion before and after, or really just in general, a lot of sensory overload can happen. So, that added to the fact that we live in an overstimulating world right now, where we have a computer box in our hands at all times that we can scroll at any time. We've got so much coming at us all at once. So that paired with work that's creating a lot of sensory overload, it's good that we give ourselves and our senses a bit of a break, so we can reduce stress, feel more grounded and rooted. So ideas for that: taking a break from social media through the holidays if you can, turning off your notifications for work, whatever it may be during off hours. If you're taking time off for the holidays, turning off your notifications, turning off anything work that you can for any short period of time will give your senses that break it needs. Blue light glasses can help if you're noticing like a lot of activation in your experience, just as blue light actually keeps us from entering our circadian rhythm, prevents us from resting fully or deeply resting. That can be helpful if needed. And then, setting up a relaxing end of day routine, be that taking a shower, brushing your teeth, putting on slippers, or if you can take a bath, taking a bath, putting on a fuzzy sweater, or a fuzzy robe, that kind of stuff. Those will kind of give you a moment of kind of relaxing. Then let me get to, and then emotional rest. We're emotional beings. We need to give ourselves a break from emotional experiences, especially when we're out. We've been out on the road for months and months and months. It can be quite exhausting. So some ideas for emotional rest being, spending time with those that you can feel authentic and be fully yourself, not having to restrict anything. So if we're out with family or friends, finding ways of finding those who we feel most safe around, or are able to be more ourselves. If you have a therapist, trying to get in with a therapist before the holidays, just to get some space for an emotional release, or setting up a session with your therapist following the holidays, giving yourself some space again for processing and a bit of a release there. Other ways of kind of giving giving yourself emotional rest, include crying, laughing, really any type of thing that can move the emotion, a built up emotion out, that can give us some space. Lastly, on the rest side of things, creative rest. And that's one I think is also important for touring professionals, as you're always kind of in creation and movement mode. And it can be really, really important to give yourself some space to appreciate beauty outside of self, in any form. So going out and being in nature, taking a sunrise or sunset walk, um, going to a museum, doing like looking at human creation, use other music, books, those types of things, can give you kind of a break from the strenuous aspects of creation. I'm going to take just a quick sidebar, as it looks like a few folks have asked about how to manage alcohol consumption during the holiday, which is a really, really good question, as it is also a part of this. There's every alcohol distributor out there has some holiday thing going on. It's usually at Christmas parties. Substances are an easy way to get away from the stress that we have to experience. So number one, with thinking about alcohol consumption in particular, is know what your limits are before we even go into any holiday situation. And I'll do both, for like if you're not going to be with others and if you are. So if you're going to be with others, number one, making a plan for saying no. Finding healthy comforts that you can have, be that a safe cousin or friend that's going to be at the event, bringing along your dog if you can, having those healthy comforts for you that can also, number one, make you feel more grounded, but make sure that we're not needing that instant stress relief of alcohol. Outside of that, I would say, I'll go here in just a moment, but finding ways of boosting your neurotransmitters or boosting mood in other ways. And then, like I said, just in the beginning of that, just knowing what your limits are before you even go. I know that the more stressed we get, the more we get pulled away from our boundaries, the more we're disrespected, the more we have to talk about things we don't want to talk about, the easier it is to go grab a drink. So I think number one at the front end, making sure that you understand what your limits are, what your non-negotiables are, what your boundaries are, so that you are creating safety around yourself, around consumption, so that while we know it's there, if we understand our limits, we have healthy comforts with us, we have an exit plan, we have ways of managing stress as it arises, that can help us from going straight to drinking. Now, I know alcohol consumption is also can be a troubling experience if we're feeling lonely. This is also an incredibly lonely time of year. I know I've been talking mostly about folks who go see family and friends. That's simply not the case for everybody. And so in terms of managing alcohol consumption when feeling lonely or by yourself in the holidays, creating a plan for connection. I really believe that connection and community are the opposite of addiction. And being able to find community or connection in those moments, even if it's just a friend you can call for an hour, or texting a cousin, or whoever it may be, finding a safe person who you can reach out and find connection with in community. Again, so it's a lonely time of year where all the movies say that it's family and everyone's gathering and there's so much togetherness. Well, that's not the case for everybody. So tapping into your community as you can, trying to maintain connection throughout, that can help lower the likelihood of consumption. Any other questions, put them in the chat as well. I'll come back to those in a little bit, but I noticed a few folks were asking about that. So I wanted to take a moment to kind of briefly chat about that. So in terms of where I was going to kind of head next is like, how can we improve our mood? Knowing that there's going to be sadness, there's going to be loneliness, there's going to be disconnection, there's could be irritation, stress, all sorts of different emotional experiences around the holidays. So how do we kind of boost our mood if we need to? Or how do we kind of maintain stability in these times? So I'm going to kind of go through ways that we can boost certain neurotransmitters or brain chemicals that can help us feel more happy, more alert, and just overall feel better. First one would be dopamine, dopamine being the reward chemical. Some ideas on how to boost this one include listening to uplifting music, trying something new Christmas tradition, or excuse me, holiday tradition, doing something creative, coloring, something like that, drawing, playing with friends, playing with family, if you have that ability, those can help. Those types of kind of reward type experiences. Next would be oxytocin, which is the love hormone where we really feel connected and warm. Ways of boosting this include hugging a close friend or family member, spending time with a pet, showing affection to others, or doing something nice for self. Those can all help boost oxytocin. For serotonin, or the kind of really the neurotransmitter mostly associated with good mood, some ideas there would just be kind of exercising, sitting in the sun, meditating, eating a healthy meal, doing some self-care in that way. And then endorphins can also help improve our mood and kind of settle, not just kind of, can really settle our stress when we're in high stress experiences like family Christmases and holidays can be. Some ideas on boosting those would be taking a hot bath, creating if you can, practicing yoga, and laughing. Those are some ways that you can kind of boost those neurotransmitters. So after all of these kind of ideas I've been kind of throwing around for y'all, I wanted to share, let me just quickly share with y'all. I put together a holiday care plan. Share with y'all. All right. So let me move this out of the way real quick for us as well. All right, so I'm going to put this also. After this, I'll put this in the chat so that y'all will have access to this. Like here's kind of what I've put together based on the ideas behind, or excuse me, with like the ideas with holiday self-care ideas, types of rest, different alternative types of rest. I put together this holiday care plan that can really just make sure that you're taking care of yourself and you know what you're going to be needing as we head into the holiday season. So the first one here, safe and healthy comforts. Those can be really whatever feels like it's going to be comforting for you. Like I said, spending time with a loved one, reaching out to your community, your favorite blanket, your dog, your favorite Christmas cookie or holiday meal. Those types of comforts can really help us when we feel the intensity of the holiday season. This idea of scheduling downtime, how do I turn off? Those would be kind of those ideas I gave earlier around different types of rest. And like, how can we slow down? How can we introduce rest into our holiday time, however that's going to look? Again, I know not everybody has time off this time of year. Touring professionals often go straight, I know, from fall tour right into the New Year's shows, which goes right into winter tour. So making sure that you're being intentional about scheduling some downtime for yourself. Um, if it's even if it's 4 hours and one for a day, there needs to be a moment of being able to slow down and rest so that you can recharge, re-energize, and avoid burnout and maintain sustainability. Um, Next one here would just be hobbies that can help reduce stress or bring joy. Um, these can kind of, yeah, just help you have ideas on things you can do when feeling overwhelmed, stressed, when needing a pick me up if you're feeling down. Um, these can include really anything, playing the guitar, baking cookies, doing a puzzle, woodworking, whatever can really help you feel like you're able to reduce or that you're able to um, deal with or manage any activation or stress as it arises. Safe family contact. If you are going to be seeing family, I think it's really important that we have a plan for when we see family members. As industry professionals, not many families or family members or friends have a deep understanding of the line of work or an understanding as to why we have gone this route. So it can be really important that we protect ourselves and this line of work that we're doing. So first would be just safe family members and friends. This can also go for folks who are not going to be seeing family members or friends or going out to any events. Finding folks who you can reach out to if you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're really just needing a safe place to be able to feel vulnerable. Again, like I said earlier, a healthy exit plan, meaning like how do we get out of there if we need to? The holidays also bring with it a lot of uncomfortable conversations about the world, society at large, our work, what they think of our work. And it's really important that we know the necessary conversation boundaries and how to stand up for ourselves. And if those are not working, having that healthy exit plan to make sure that we know how to get out when we need to. And then lastly, I've got here, what is my mental limit? So I think I kind of went over this a bit earlier, but there's a difference between being just stressed out and being so overwhelmed that we say something or do something that we're not proud of or that we end up being ashamed of. We want to protect ourselves from getting to that place, is that if that happens, that's going to take up even more of our mental space, more of our mental energy. So knowing like what's our limit? If we get to a state of thoughts are running, or we feel our palms get sweaty, or we just feel stress enter our body, or mind is starting to get angry, what is that level? Like, what is that limit for you? So we know when to set a boundary, move away, or make our exit. So I'm going to put this in the chat here in a moment, and I'm going to before we go into like goals and resolutions, I want to just see if anybody has any questions. I know I was moving a little quickly there. Just wanted to make sure to move through all this, but wanted to take a quick pause and see if there's any questions. So I'll wait to see if those come through. And while I'm waiting for that, I will put this in the chat. And let me put this in. There we go. So the holiday care plan is now in the chat. For those of you watching on Instagram Live, I'll connect with Tara, our community manager, on maybe how to get a link to this on our Instagram, just to make sure that you all have access to that. And yeah. I don't know if we have too many questions coming in. So I will go ahead and just kind of briefly talk about also on the holiday care plan, I have resolutions or goals for 2024. Excuse me. And New Year's resolutions can be super cheesy, and I know they can be unattainable at times, but I think for our mental health and wellness, it's so important that we have something to look forward to. So my view of a resolution is really just something to look forward to in the new year, be it wanting to increase health in the new year, if it's wanting to make sure that we are increasing our amount of stillness or peace, wanting to excuse me, move towards an accomplishment or a career goal, whatever it may be. Really giving yourself something to look forward to. As we reach the end of the year, it's and things start to really kind of pour in, and we are kind of forced to look at the year past. It can be really intense and also really a potent moment to find where we want to make our shifts, our changes, and what we want for ourselves for the next year. Allows us to kind of bring in some self-importance in this and open ourselves up to possibilities. And that is mostly all that I have for this. I'm not sure if there are any other questions, so I'll hold off for just a little bit longer. But wanted to make sure that I also provided y'all with some time here at the end to go through and create your holiday care plan if you'd like. Yeah, and again, we'll figure out how to get this up for most folks, but yeah. See what questions come in. Great. And a question just came in about what can one do to self-soothe during the holidays if they aren't with friends and family? That is a great question. And I think in these times, especially when there's moments of loneliness, my thoughts are go to these comforts that are outside of others. Not sure if you have a pet or pets are great, of course, but not everyone has a pet. Making sure that you are creating cushion around you. So putting on your favorite movies, celebrating self, making your favorite meal, lighting your favorite candle, grounding yourself through your senses however you can, and trying to embrace the stillness. I know it can bring a lot of self-reflection as well, especially when we're alone, which can lead the mind to move. A way I've noticed that's helpful for my clients to do that is see what the mind is wanting and utilize that for self through creating these resolutions. So if we're alone and the mind's moving about, well, we didn't do this, I don't have this, I didn't have this is really intense for me. Trying to make those into resolutions or goals for the next year so that number one, we have it on our radar, but two, we can give the mind a break from having to keep thinking about being alone or what's going on around us. And then going back to those ideas of kind of cognitive rest I was talking about earlier, meditation, puzzles. Puzzles great to number one, it can take up some time and also really gives your mind and emotions, your cognitive and emotional body a break. Those are some ideas I have. I think also for feeling if you're feeling a lot of pent up energy in the body or feeling any stuckness around this time when being alone, doing what you can to move the body if you're able to. Stretching, doing yoga, taking a walk. Yeah. I know this time of year can be challenging for there's not much sun out, which can absolutely also impact our mood and stress levels. So finding spaces and times when there is sun to get out there, that would be another idea. Um, but really going back to those safe and healthy comforts for self, whatever that's going to make you feel most settled, most able to sit in the stillness. See what else comes through. One last idea too with this is like how to soothe self or how to make sure we're caring for self and I know it's not accessible to everybody right at this moment, but I do believe that speaking and being with the therapist in this time of year and as we start the new year is a um, great idea. And Backline, we do have ways of helping if there's limits or barriers or challenges in finding a therapist this time of year. Please touch base with us, our case managers. That's what we're here for, is to help you pair you with resources and help you find a therapist that's a good fit. Number one, but number two, somebody who um, is really able to provide that space for you and yeah, help you feel cared for. But I think that that's all that we have for now. It doesn't look like any more questions are coming through. So I would last thing I'll share is that we'll be sharing the holiday care plan on on our social media accounts throughout this week. We're also going to have another holiday support group that will be running on Thursday. It'll be kind of similar to this but a bit more interactiveness if you'd like to come and meet us on Thursday at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. And then also you can always visit backline.care for any more information about the resources we provide. And just know that you're not alone in this. If you're out there and going to be alone for the holidays, reach out to us. Reach out to your community, stay plugged in as best you can, while also making sure that you're resting. That's kind of my last thoughts here. And I've been really grateful to be able to chat with y'all today. We'll go ahead and wrap it here. And like I said, yeah, check out the holiday care plan on our socials and stay in touch with Backline if you're needing any additional resources. And I hope everybody has a nice, peaceful holiday season and are ready for a happy new year. All right, folks, take care.